Hey guys, back for another vlog. Now this is a little unusual in terms that it's so close together with the last one, but back from a trip I took a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, I wanted to talk about it a little since it's the first time in I want to say about 8 years since I've really gone on a quote vacation type trip. So um, yeah, I figured want to talk about that a little. I'll probably splice in a couple photos from the trip as well. So I think that'll just add to it a little. But over Memorial Day weekend, my family and I actually went to Disney World. My family kind of is big into Disney and been going pretty regularly up until no about 8 years ago was the last time I went. My mother and sister have still continued to go fairly regularly. Most of the time since, like I said, about '09, um, I've been the one staying home to watch the pets. So yeah. Anyway, so I'll try to do this a little chronologically instead of just trying to, you know, do everything off the cuff. In fact, I actually was smart and wrote some stuff down. So if you see me looking off to the side, that's because I'm going through my little list of notes. But no, I thought this might be a nice little bit of a change of pace, as it's something I really don't do that often. That and I also wanted to give you guys a heads up that I do have the video from IPMS San Diego that was this past weekend on my computer. Need to go through and edit though, as I did some a little different. For one thing, I actually recorded the awards, most of the award ceremony. Unfortunately, my battery crapped out on my video camera or the end. Got, I would say, about 75% of it, possibly a little more. But yeah, unfortunately, um, the battery in my camera is slowly starting to go, and fortunately, given how old it is, I doubt I'm going to be able to find a new battery for it, or at very least find one cheaply. So it looks like I'm probably going to need to get a new battery camera, which is something I've been, toying back in mind with for a while now. But unfortunately, that's just an expense that can obviously be put off for a while. Fortunately, because at least for as far as the videos that I mainly do, I can just leave it plugged into the outlet, and that more than sufficiently takes care of things. But I digress. So anyway, back to my trip. Excuse me. So anyway, yeah, I guess you could call it day one. Was the day we left. Fortunately, had to leave right in the middle of evening rush hour traffic, so that turned drive pretty long. I guess between just being stressed and worn out getting ready for the trip, really sort of strained my eyes to the point where I was starting to get a migraine. So that was not a fun start to the trip. As yeah, just trying to drive when your eyes are hurting is not fun at all. Fortunately, we had prepaid for parking, so we're now basically rolled up, parked the car, and hopped on a little shuttle bus over to the airport, which thankfully made life a lot easier. So I would suggest doing that if you are planning to go on an extended trip, as it does make life a little easier. One less thing, since you have a spot, and yeah, just one less hassle. Excuse me. So yeah, get to the airport, get through security, no issues. Don't know if it's because the plane was a red eye or because I know a lot of airlines are now starting to pull out the in-seat entertainment things as part because they want to bring in tablets and laptops and all that. But yeah, this particular flight didn't have it, so unfortunately, I'm one of those people who really can't sleep on a plane. No, I think because it wasn't a direct flight. We had a stopover in Phoenix, which I'll get to in a sec. But yeah, it just made it little bit of a longer flight. Fortunately, going west to east, you got tailwinds, so you're able to get there a little faster. But yeah, that was a bit of a bummer because I had personally looked forward to I either catching a movie that way and saving battery life on my tablet to basically track the flight because I'm that kind of nerd. But yeah, so first leg of the flight to Phoenix, basically a quick little hop over the mountains, and we had a bit of a layover in Phoenix. So, and fortunately, since we were on the same plane, we were able to just get out, walked around for a little bit, which was nice, just to stretch your legs. Did try to get some coffee, but unfortunately, they had closed up for the night. At least all the places that were uh, on the terminal side of the security. So, obviously, not gonna deal with going out and getting back in. So that was a bit of a bummer, and like I said, since I had a bit of a headache, that just, when you're not feeling good, having a little bit of a comfort food does help a little. So, get back on the flight and, start heading to Orlando, and did get maybe an hour or so sleep, sort of cat naps here and there. But yeah, was pretty well awake for most of the flight. Fortunately, really did not hit any real turbulence till we started descending into Orlando. From the look of it, they had just had a system go through, as it was actually kind of funny. Once we had landed, noticed all the windows had fogged up from the change in the, I guess, combination of just the change in the humidity and all that from being in flight into versus what they had on the ground. So it was just one of those stupid funny things you notice. So yeah, arrived at the airport, hopped on the Disney bus, which again, another thing highly recommend you take, as it just basically check your bags at your origin airport, and you don't see them again till you get to your room. It makes everything so much easier and less hassle. This time we stayed at the Coronado Springs Resort. It's the one, I guess, that's also for the convention center there at Disney. So yeah, we get there about a little before 6, and right at 6 we were fortunately able to actually check in and get our room, which surprised both me and my mother, who I was traveling with, as we were fully expecting, it to be a while before the room was ready, but no, fortunately it was, so we were able to both, get and in all honesty, we ended up falling asleep and, a lot longer than I expected. I had planned sort of, be up to get there right when the parks opened, but we ended up not leaving the room till almost 11. We were just that worn out from traveling. So it was good that the room was ready, as we obviously needed it, as we were quite tired. Excuse me. So yeah, after that, once we did finally get going, we headed over to Epcot. Personally, it's of the parks there at Disney World, I enjoy it the most. Don't ask me why. I just enjoy it. So yeah, yep, my computer up. Headed in. One of the first things we did, because fortunately, weather-wise, we lucked out extremely well, as with the exception of the last 2 days that we were there, it was fairly temperate, weather-wise. you know, because I live in San Diego, weather was about what we get during the summer. So yeah, it was, you know, surprising as we were both expecting, you know, high humidity and all of that. In fact, right after we left, it sort of kicked into the rainy season for them. So yeah, we lucked out as far as weather was concerned. But I digress. One of the first things we did, and I'm probably gonna screw the name up of the attraction, but it's called Club Cool. You can basically get free soda there, and if you guys go to Epcot, I have to recommend you guys go there, hands down, for two reasons. One, it's got air conditioning, and if you're there in the summer, that is a godsend. The other reason, again, free drinks. It's one of the few places you can get free drinks at Disney. Granted, they're drinks from Coke drinks from all over the world, all sorts of different flavors. Unfortunately, I had wanted to go back and get a snapshot of what ones they had, so as to obviously give recommendations on what ones they have, as they do change them. But yeah, excuse me. So unfortunately, I'm not going to have any type of visual to reference for this. But the first one was from Italy. I'm probably going to butcher the name of it, called Beverly or something. No offense, Italy, but that is one of the worst drinks I've ever had. It's bad. I don't. It's to read the little descriptor they had. It said it's like a traditional Italian drink before meals. My only guess is they drink that so that it doesn't matter what the food tastes like, it's gonna taste better than that. Next two drinks that they had were both Fantas. The first one was like pineapple. One I didn't personally care for it. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. The second Fanta one was like a melon soda, and it was really good. It was like a green color, and just very sweet, very tasty. And it was quite enjoyable. Uh, After that, they had one from Japan that was sort of like a vegetable type drink. I honestly didn't try it. It really didn't sound appetizing to me. Obviously, other people it might be. Uh, Next was one I cannot remember, and I think I only had it once, but it wasn't that enjoyable. Unfortunately, it really did not leave much of an impression. Uh, Another one. After that, they had one from, I want to say, Zimbabwe. It was like a strawberry type drink, which was pretty good. It was nice, sort of a middle mellow. It wasn't too sweet, and yeah, it was nice. Second to last one they had, I don't recall what it was called, and I don't recall where it's from, but it was really, really sweet. In fact, my mother complained that it was just too sweet. Personally, I liked it. It wasn't. It was that sort of sweetness you get from like almost like a piece of candy. So like a hard rock sugar type candy. But yeah, and the last drink they had there, I cannot for the life of me recall what it was or what it was called. But if I remember, it really was another one that wasn't that tasty. So those were the ones they had. I really wish I had taken a photo, both partially to help with memory and also just to have as a nice little graphic to show you. Okay. Anyway, after we hit that, went over, did one of the rides that I really like there called Mission Space. It's basically they stick you in a centrifuge and more or less shoot you into space, so you get the actual G forces that you would, to some degree, experience. It obviously they don't give you the full, 8-minute ride to orbit or anything like that, which would be cool if they would do something like that, but that's just me. Let's bring it up again. Yeah, that really hasn't changed. Granted, and then this ties back into, because I was still getting a little bit over from the eye strain from the drive to the airport. You know, it really wasn't that great a combination, as my eyes were a little still tender, so getting sustained G forces applied was probably not the smartest idea. But yeah, it's one, definitely when they say if you're not in good health, don't ride it. But no, it's a fun one. Definitely, you should check it out if you guys go there. So anyway, after that, headed out, walked around World Showcase, got dinner while we were there. That's big reason why to go to Epcot is you get to check out all these little bit of culture from all these different countries. I'll talk more about that a little later once we get back. Got a few days to get through. So yeah, we did that lap around there. Um, Last thing we did, because it was getting, by that point it was getting close to time to close for the night. Went in, did where the more or less single rider test track, which first time I had ridden it since I guess they remodeled it, because before it was with GM, now it's with Chevy. As far as the changes they made, some things I liked what they did, some things I don't. One thing, because the original ride was basically a look into how they test cars, insights, types of testing and all of that, which personally I thought I enjoyed. I have a background in engineering, so this sort of thing falls into my wheelhouse. Now it's just they have made it a little more interactive in that one of the things you do is play with a little computer thing to sort of make your own little car and put it out and test it and compare it against the other riders in your vehicle, which I found enjoyable. Part of me hopes they bring something similar to Radiator Springs out here at DCA. But yeah, it really hasn't changed too much as far as the actual the ride takes you on. Um, they have added a lot of sort of like neon light type, black light type stuff, which it's one of those, you like it, you don't, you don't. It's hit or miss. But yeah, first time through, because we did single rider, and at the time they really hadn't they didn't have the single rider side turned on for the setup for those, and so we didn't know, so we just sort of walked right past it, got the thing, and it randomly picked a vehicle for us. Because I guess they have a bunch of presets you can choose from. And obviously if you don't build one, they'll randomly assign you one. So yeah, went, did that, and no, Test Track is a fun ride. It's one of the big reasons you go to Epcot. It's one of the reasons it regularly has our 90-minute type of waits. And I'll get to that, another thing later. Unfortunate downside of the ride. I'll get to that probably the last night when I talk about the last night. So yeah, by this point Epcot was closing. Ran back to the room for a few minutes just to settle down, figure out what we're gonna do. Ended up going over to the Magic Kingdom for a couple hours. Fortunately, since it was so obviously given time, we weren't going to get in the big long line type stuff. So did hit People Mover, which is, God, I wish they would bring back to Disneyland. It's just a good sit down ride that get you off your feet for 5-10 minutes. And yeah, I mean, I know out here that when they did the big remodel of Tomorrowland, I want to say early 2000s, they did that rocket rods thing that lasted think about a year or so before they closed it down. And I hope when they do redo Tomorrowland again, wherever that is, that they do, fix up the track and, bring back the People Mover for here. As yeah, it's a good just get off your feet, sit down for a little bit, ride. Uh, After that, we went over and did Small World, which I didn't realize just how different it was versus the one in California, as it's a lot different. You don't go through the same sort of scenes, and yeah, it'd been so long since I'd been on it, I didn't realize. The last thing we did that first night we were there, then after it's Small World, went over, did Haunted Mansion. Been a long time since it did just the vanilla one. Usually, times we have gone, they have done up for the holidays with Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, it was a nice change of pace to just do the vanilla. So yeah, that took us to the end of the first day there. I guess quote day two. So moving on to day three. Day three started out obviously hotel. Quickly learned a very, I guess, downside to our hotel, since it's one of the bigger hotels. The bus has in total 4 stops to make. Ours was the last one, but catch 22 is, since it's the last one, it was the first one, or excuse me, since it's the last one to pick up before it heads to the parks, means we can quickly, once we do get on the bus, head straight to the park. But obviously coming back means we're the last ones to drop off. And I'll get more into this at the end of this day three discussion, as we did have a sizable issue with the bus system, at least to our hotel. Anyway, day three, head back to Epcot in the morning. Again, of the parks, the one I enjoyed the most. At that end, we had fast passes for stuff. Get there, since we had some time to kill before our fast passes were active. Did Ellen's Energy Adventure thing. That's a ride it is so dated now. It's really disgusting. Hopefully they're gonna be changing that not soon, as just everything about it needs an update. Granted, the dinosaur part's still pretty impressive, but just everything else is you can tell how old it is. I think they redid it early 2000s or late 90s, and it reeks of that time period, which yeah, it is unfortunate. Is you really should design a ride to more ideally be timeless, so that it doesn't matter. But there goes. So yeah, did that. Then first fast passes we had was for Test Track again. This time I actually did play with the designer thing, and something I found out after going through it is, um, don't do the design part when you're in the queue area. I think it only gives you about 3 minutes to do it. But if you go to the after ride section, as after the ride they let you off in this little area, you can play around, do a little driving sim thing, and they also have Chevy models for you to look at. But they also have another set of the design stations. Thing with those is, however, they don't have a time limit, so you can actually take your time, and really do a good job trying to figure out and adjust your design to get a high score. As they also have a scoreboard thing for the top designs of the day. Didn't get it, as I didn't try this until the last day, and fortunately was not able to. By the time I did do it, usually if you're doing it later in the day, it's a lot harder to get a higher score versus doing it earlier in the day. Cause yeah, it would be nice to have that little photo showing, hey, top design for the day. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, did that. In fact, my mother actually gave up her fast pass for it. Let me do it twice since um, they're actually going to be back there in February for one of the marathons. So it wasn't that big a deal for her to just let me get it more than once. So yeah, did that. After that, we headed over to World Showcase as we were able to get fast passes for the reimagined Maelstrom ride, the Frozen. This ride tipped the one of the things we were doing because they had opened a new section over in Animal Kingdom. It was on the little Disney app, looked at, kept an eye on all the different wait times for rides and such, and that was one of the ones we kept an eye on, as well as actually for the Guardians of the Galaxy over in Tomorrow in California Adventure as well, just for laughs. This ride, a low time for it would be an hour. Why it has this ride beyond the popularity of Frozen, I cannot understand. It lasts maybe 5 minutes. So you're waiting in line 2 hours, typically 2 hours or more, for a 5 minute ride. I get that Frozen's popular, but for that, it's not worth the wait. I mean, if you can get fast passes, it's worth doing once just to say you did it. But it's not worth 2 hours of your time. It is. It's not worth the time. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's not worth it. There are better rides to go on and better attractions to see. So yeah, did that. We then headed over to the west side of the park and did the Figment ride, Journey in Imagination. That really hasn't changed. Honestly, I'm not old enough to really consciously remember what it was like before they changed it to the current iteration. But just the current iteration is just really bland. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm too old for it and it's not the right target age group or whatever. But yeah, it's really not for me. We also, one of the other things they had there in the little theater thing is, excuse me, is a collection of Disney shorts. That I do recommend. It's a nice way to get out of the sun and get in air condition. And the shorts they have, two are Pixar shorts and the other's a Mickey short. And yeah, they were enjoyable. I do recommend doing that. As yeah, it's just a good way to just sit down for a little bit. Oh, another thing I almost forgot. When another ride in World Showcase in the Mexico Pavilion is the. I'm not even gonna try it. My Spanish is horrible, but it's a little boat ride with Donald and the three of me. The oh god, I'm not. Donald and two of the other bird characters. I'm terrible with names. But yeah, that's another fun one just to sit down, get out of the sun, and rest your feet for a little bit. And fortunately, because it's right next to the Norway Pavilion, wait times can get a little up there. But on the plus side, once you get off the ride, it lets you off right near where they do tequila tasting. So yeah, so you can sit, rest, get a few drinks in you, and then carry on. Which, one of the things I will try next time I go to Disney World is the quote drinking around the world, trying drinks in all the different pavilions to see how far we get. But I digress. So anyway, after that, we headed over to Hollywood Studios, and forgive me, I know it best as Disney MGM, so I will probably refer to it as MGM. Fair warning. So yeah, head over there. We did a couple of things and got dinner. Most notably, obviously, did the movie ride, which some of the stuff they changed is, I think, was took away from it a little. But it's one of those rides you're almost required to do. And uh, did Star Tours once. No, it's the same. If you're near Disneyland, it's no different than the one there. So, did that. By this point, it was getting late in the evening, so we caught the yeah, this up. Caught the Star Wars fireworks show they had there. This the parts of it were good, but honestly, they put way too much emphasis on Seven, which, in all honesty, is the weakest of the films. And this I personally don't care for in fireworks shows is when they do these like fire effect stuff, and you just leaves you so you can't really focus on it. And just to me, it makes it so I really can't see, and it hurts my eyes. No, that's just me. And it's just I didn't personally care for the fireworks show. Yeah, it's great they did do a bunch of Star Wars stuff with it, but and have projectors set up that show stills and images and whatnot from the movies, but I really didn't care for this particular show. So yeah, now that thing I mentioned earlier about the bus, this is where um, it comes into play. Getting out of MGM, when we go head to the bus terminal, expecting not that much of a wait to get back to the hotel. We'll get our feet and settle down bed to be ready for the next day. It took us almost 40 minutes for a bus to come. I don't know if this is just our hotel, as this wasn't the only day something like this happened. I don't know if it's just given that it was Memorial Day weekend, so crowds were up, and just the case happened to be that our hotel happened to not have as many guests. I don't know, but yeah, it was almost regularly that we were looking at 20, 30, 40-minute waits for the bus. And it really became amazing anytime we happened to get there just as the bus was pulling up. So yeah, that it just, and what's worse is a lot of the other hotels, there were like bus. We saw a couple of hotels got 2, 3, even 4 buses come in the span of time that it took us to get just one bus. So I don't know. In that regard, yeah, the one great thing about Coronado Springs was it was extremely quiet. So there was no noise, no nothing. It was just very peaceful, very serene. It let you rest. But you lose so much time waiting for the damn bus. It was ridiculous. I mean, especially when you add it up over multiple days, multiple parks. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So yeah, that pretty much killed our day for then. Now, let's see. Heading to day 4. So yeah, day 4, we headed back to MGM again. Spent majority of the day there. First ride we did, since we now had a lot of time and also had fast passes for it, was Rocking Roller Coaster. Another one I highly recommend. Though I will tell you now, it's not for everyone, because right out of the gate basically cat launch you into loop and inversion, and just it goes from there. So yeah, if you're not into all that, this is one to skip, but it's definitely a fun one. And for the most part, it is worth the wait. I believe they still have Signal Rider also for it, so it can get you in a little faster. After that, we did do the Indiana Jones stunt show. It's one of those things. If you've seen it once, you really don't need to see it again because it really has not changed at all. But it's still a neat show to see. Definitely see it at least once. And yeah. Uh, After that, did Star Tours again. Again, no different than the one in California. So if you've been to the one in Disneyland or go regularly, you can skip it. One after that, well, another thing we did there that day was they, and this I guess it was the first time they put this on, was a concert for Pixar, and it had a bunch of songs and such from the Pixar movies, and it was really enjoyable. It was a nice concert, in all honesty. So if you're, I don't know when it runs through, but definitely attend it if you can. Granted, I would say, you know, if you got little kids, it might not be best as they won't really be able to fully appreciate it. But definitely, if you got older kids, teenagers, adults, definitely check it out. It's worth the wait. After this, headed over to the Magic Kingdom. Did Jungle Cruise, which was one ride, and my mother and I both were scratching our heads why it has regularly like hour-long waits. We couldn't understand why it takes has that longer wait time. Just I don't know. We both weren't sure on that. And another thing about it was also the first time in a long while done Jungle Cruise at night, which now doesn't really change all that much, but still makes for a little bit different experience. Uh, then we closed that night out by doing um, Pirates, since that's over in the same sort of area. And yeah, that's no different than Disneyland. Well, I take it back. It's a little different just because of how they route you, but for the most part, it's the same ride. Excuse me. All right, moving into day 5. Day 5 we spent at was our targeted Magic Kingdom day. Um, Obviously, first thing we did was Space Mountain, and this is something I don't know if they've changed at Disneyland because it's been a little bit since I've been to Disneyland, but they added in the queue area, little games and such for you to play, which I think is a great idea since that's one of those rides that you're looking at a long wait, hour plus. And another thing that's also differs from the one in Disneyland. In Disneyland ride, you sit, side by side, whereas at Disney World they have you tandem, which does make for a little bit different experience. And fortunately, for some reason they changed. At least my memory could be fooling me here, but from what I remember, they used to have handholds on the sides of the car. Now they only have it on the front. Now for me, that's it's a little more challenging to just given my size and how they have the seating spaced. But yeah, Space Mountain, it's really no different than here, unless well, actually, no, I take it back. Right now, here they're doing a thing with Star Wars, so they're not doing that at Disney World, but they are doing that at Disneyland. It's basically up on the sides they're projecting, space battle with Star Wars stuff. So yeah. After that, we went over did Splash Mountain. Another thing that's different with Disney Worlds is that they have the seating side by side on that one versus tandem at Disneyland. Why that's the case, I don't know. It's just one of those weird things I happen to notice. Ride itself's a little different than Disneyland is, at least as far as how they route the track, as well as they also give you one additional drop over at Disneyland. It's one of the little smaller drops. Excuse me. I was going to sneeze there for a second. But yeah, it's from, again, not too dissimilar from Disneyland in terms of that. Now, one ride that we did there that we don't have at Disneyland is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Car, and since it's still quote new enough, it's still got like 2 hour wait times. This is another one of those rides that why this has such a long wait, I don't know. It's basically a watered down Matterhorn. Is the best way to describe it. The only real difference is that the mine carts are able to rock back and forth independently. But yeah, it's one of those rides. I don't get why it has such a long wait time, other than it's new. It's just it's mind-boggling. It's not that great a ride. If you like it, fine, but it's not worth the wait. It's one of those ones. Fast passes, do it once, and you're good. Just yeah, I was really disappointed by this one. As you know, if you've been on Matterhorn, it's one of the reasons to go to Disneyland. It's an enjoyable roller coaster. But Seven Dwarfs Minecraft, it's just yeah, it's not worth your time. So yeah, that's that. Actually, one thing you might do in regards to that, if you're dead set on riding it, wait till the fireworks, because they close it for when they do the fireworks, and be ready to jump in line right after the fireworks end. As actually during one of the fireworks show, that particular ride actually caught fire from falling embers. So if you can time it right, you can get on pretty quickly and easily if you do that. But either fast pass it or skip it. So yeah. Oh, another ride I forgot to mention that we did. I actually did this the first day we went to Magic Kingdom. I just completely blanked on it. Was Carousel of Progress. It's one that we don't have in Disneyland, but they do have over there. Basically, it shows scenes from family life from starting at turn of the century, 1920s, 1940s. Then it skips ahead to more current. With the exception of the more current, now is it's current to quote early 2000s, or thinking what the home life's going to be like more or less now. It's an interesting ride. It's neat to see now the past like that. But yeah, for what they have currently, for what the modern is, yeah, they need to update that one. So yeah, so yeah, after we did Minecart, we went and did Mickey's Philharmonic, was another little sit-down show thing. Another one I highly recommend. There's almost no wait time, and it's just a funny show. It has Donald, so they're playing around with Mickey's sorcerer hat, and yeah, it's just a fun little show. And yeah, it's one I recommend doing, if only just because you get to sit down for a little bit. Now, why I'm actually, there's another ride I almost forgot that we did that day. Stitch's Great Escape. It's a ride that used to be called Extra Terror or Encounter. So the original ride, which I honestly never did, just because when they did have it, was a lot younger, and really didn't care about that. And basically, so the premise of that one was, more or less, Xenomorph gets out and is attacking you in the stands. but with the Stitch version is basically the same, but now they're using Stitch as the character that's breaking out. Um, but yeah, that's one. No, do it once and you're good. It's another one that's do it once, get out of the sun type ride. But yeah, it's kind of a little lame. It's more targeted to a younger audience, and yeah, it's do it once or take your kids to see it type deal. But yeah. Um, oh, another thing I forgot about that morning. Forgive me, even though I read a lot of this stuff down, there's a couple things I missed that I'm now remembering. We did the Ohana uh, breakfast meal thing over at the Polynesian Resort. Another one I recommend is it's all you can eat, which at Disneyland for given unfortunately what they charge for meals is a big thing. Good portions and good food. It's also a character one, so they have a lot of characters, including Stitch, uh, come out and do for photo op. So yeah, it's one I recommend doing. I also know it's. I'm pretty sure it's on the meal things because I think because this time we didn't do the meal plans, uh, but the last time we went we did. So that's one of those things to compare and contrast as far as how to go about your trip is whether you go meal plan or don't. But anyway, yeah, after we got done uh, at Magic Kingdom, head back over to Epcot because we wanted to go uh, see the fireworks thing they have in the little lake there. But we also, since it was still doing or actually it was like the last day of the Flower and Garden show, um, they still had booths out from various countries with specialty items that we're only be offering there. So picked up a couple of drinks. The first one was actually from France. It was called, and hopefully I'm getting it right, La Vienne Rose slushy type drink. It was cranberry juice, orange juice, and two different vodkas. One was Grey Goose. I can't remember what the other one was. It was okay. I think I'm not super fan of the tartness from the cranberry juice. My mother really enjoyed it. Did like that it was a thicker type of slushy type drink, which is no, given how much it cost, it was like almost $10 for a little drink about ye big. So yeah, it was kind of worth it, kind of not. It's one of those if you have taste for tart, it definitely. But it's one try it once, and otherwise can pass. Um, After that, headed over to the U.S. Pavilion, um, and we'll talk about it because I forgot to mention it before. The U.S. show that they have there. Um, that's one of the shows I have to say when you go to Epcot you have to do. It's one of the most patriotic shows you'll see, and I cannot recommend more. Don't know what Hall of Presidents is because I think the last time I did Hall of Presidents was I was little and have no recollection of it as I haven't done it since. As it was also still closed since they're redoing it since. Excuse me. See if we can get that's a little bit. As they hadn't reopened it yet since the election, so wasn't able to do that unfortunately. But you can definitely do the America Pavilion show. Cannot recommend it more. You'll walk out of there feeling super patriotic. So yeah, I head over there. Another drink we picked up, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was like lemonade and strawberry lemonade topped with Grey Goose. Really good. enjoyable drink. Sugary and sweet, but quite enjoyable. So, we ate there and we ate around for the um, fireworks show. While I was off doing some other things, one of the concerts there that featured, I believe the group was called the Spinners, was playing. So my mother was happy that she was able to do that, as she had looked forward to doing and see that, since I guess it's a group from her day. I had never heard of them before, so yeah. After that, obviously saw the show. Oh, after running around doing a couple more little rides to kill some time. Overall, that particular show really has not changed. Granted, it's been about 8 years at least since I'd seen it, so I don't super recall all stuff and specifics, but yeah, most of it really has not changed. So yeah, that pretty much took care of day 5. Uh, 1 second, I'm gonna grab a little more drink before I continue. Sorry about that. So yeah, that takes us to the end of day 5. So day 6, first day we have the Animal Kingdom. Now, Animal King in general, I'm not a super fan of. Not that there's anything wrong with the park. It's more because I live in San Diego. You know, we have the zoo, we have the wild animal parks. So it's just I've got basically the entire Animal Kingdom part at home, so it's sort of lost on me. That and no, they don't have a lot of other attractions that are beyond the animals. So if, like I said, you know, being that I'm from San Diego, I can see a lot of that stuff at home. So anyway, yeah, we head out there. First thing we do is the safari ride there, and I swear that thing is a lot more bumpy than last time I rode it, since it was actually I don't know when the last time did that. I think um, last time I did it was back in when they first opened the park in the early 2000s. Is Yeah, I think on '09 only went out there just long enough to do the Everest ride, which never again. I do not care for that ride at all. Did not do it this trip. Will not do it again. I am not a fan of backwards roller coasters at all, especially this one, since they have at least one section where it feels like you're going to go inverted backwards, but they never actually take you inverted, which is a worse sensation than they actually do it. Because at least if they do it, they do it and get it over with. But they sustain that sensation for a good 30 seconds, which is not comfortable at all. So yeah, Everest, don't recommend at all. But I digress. Um, but yeah, last time I had done the safari ride was back in its original iteration. They have this little, quote chase through against poachers in it, and yeah, that since then they've removed that because I guess people really didn't care for it and some parts of it, and yeah, excuse me, got some lag. So yeah, yeah, you basically go around, you see a bunch of animals, and getting the walk around. Overall, there's not too much to it other than say, since I guess they changed it, it was really bumpy. I don't know if it was just the particular car we were in, and yeah, it was bumpy as all get out. So yeah, after that we had some time kill. We headed out to the little off uh, station that you take via little train ride. Um, it's okay. It's got the area has the petting zoo and a little uh, area for interactive shows and whatnot. For most part, there's not a whole lot out there. It's one of those do once and you're good type deals. So yeah, after that, came back to the main sort of area and did the Lion King show. It's basically a little musical performance deal. Have acrobats and whatnot. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's another, like I said, it's a do once and you're good type deal. Not that the performance or anything is bad. It's just, at least for me, it's yeah, it's a do once and you're good. Anyway, after that, we headed over to the new section, which was one of the things we were looking forward to. The world of Pandora consists of obviously the excuse me consisted of excuse me damn it, I'm worse than feeling like you need to burp and not being able to burp. Anyway, it consisted of the new area to the park, done up sort of like Pandora, and two new rides, both of which huge waits. I guess, so the combination of them literally opening like 2 days before we went, combined with it being Memorial Day weekend, so lines were, I think the shortest I ever saw them was hour and a half time frame. Highest was 5 hours. In fact, we were joking because Guardians of the Galaxy right over at DCA just opened as well, and we were jokingly comparing it the times because yeah, both of them were hitting like 5 hour wait times, which is it's ridiculous. Why you would spend that amount of time? Why you would waste your day just to do one ride? No ride, no matter how good it is worth that. So yeah, we had fast passes for one. The ride was called Flight of Passage. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get fast passes for the other one, which is my understanding a little boat ride. Don't know what it's like. Didn't ride it, so I can't comment. Flight of Passage, I would say, technology-wise, is one of the most interesting rides I've ever been on. Basically, they lead you into this little compartment area. You put on these sort of special 3D glasses type deal, and they have you sit on basically what I can best describe as like a motorbike seat. And yeah, you go. It's a lot like a Star Tours type simulator ride, but done in such a way that it's unlike any one I've ever been on. From my understanding, there might be a ride similar to that in, I want to say, Shanghai Disney, that's Tron themed. But yeah, I hope they do more with this type of ride. As yeah, it was a very cool experience. You really get the sensation that you're, flying about on this creature, and the visuals were stunning. It's no, think sort of a flying safari ride through an alien landscape, or to jokingly say, what No Man's Sky should have been, in terms of type of visual, what you're seeing, creatures, landscapes, all that. Would I say it's 5 hour wait time? No. Hour and a half wait time, definitely. It's one of those rides that you will make the trek out to do. Personally, I hope to God when they open Star Wars Land, they use something, do a ride like that, but Star Wars themed. For of a God, I hope they do that. As yeah, that they do a Star Wars ride like that. 6 to 8 hour wait times would not be outside of, well, realm of reason for that. But yeah, definitely could not recommend doing that ride more. Only thing I will say, be prepared as they do squirt water at you when you go by like waterfalls and whatnot, which was not expecting at all. But yeah, it definitely leads more to the experience, and yeah, definitely ride that ride. Yeah. Now that pretty much ends us for Animal Kingdom. We really only stayed to do that, as obviously it was what's new. Oh, excuse me. Another thing I will say about that ride, they didn't have it open right now, but it does look like they are going to have a single rider for that. Which, yeah, definitely, given the wait times that it was seeing, will help a lot if you're going single rider. Um, Now, that leads me into something I found hilarious and should give you an idea of just how busy the park was this past um, Memorial Day weekend. After the flight pass, it lets you normally, quote, out into the gift shop. They had it sort of closed off. You had to actually queue up to get into the gift shop. This is Disney talking about. They want to sell you stuff. They had you queuing up for the gift shop. I have never seen something like that at Disneyland or Disney World or anywhere. They're actually making you wait in line to go shop. That just it floored me. But yeah, I mean, that should tell you just how busy the park was. When we were planning this trip, we didn't realize we had planned it for Memorial Day weekend. That was a goof on our part, but yeah, extremely busy. And truth be told, it was on this was the Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, and crowds had started to drop off significantly since about Monday, late Monday, as everyone had started to go home. So yeah, I don't even want to know what it was like to get into that area, because I do know that at least the day we were there in the morning, they had you lining up to get into the Pandora area. As I think it was like a 2 hour wait just to get into the area. But yeah, it's worth going out to see. So anyway, moving on. So yeah, since that we're now getting into the last night that we were there, I headed back over to Epcot because there are a couple of things I still want to do. Want to try to get on test track again. Also wanted to run around World Showcase a little more. While I was there, did try a thing from Nora Villain called Viking Coffee. I don't know if it's just because went with straight coffee version versus French vanilla, but oh god, was that thing awful. I had trouble getting that thing down. It was just absolutely god awful. It was Kahlua, or no, it wasn't Kahlua. It was Bailey's and some other coffee liqueur mixed with coffee, and yeah, it was bad. Uh, don't know what it would taste like using French vanilla coffee, but just that was a mistake. So yeah, after that disaster, I headed over to Italy and got some gelato. I do not recall what particular one I got. It was sort of like a sundae type thing. It had vanilla, chocolate, and vanilla with chocolate chip gelato with chocolate syrup, whipped cream, and little cookie pieces in it. And for the price, it was like $9 and change, whereas a two scoop thing was like $6.50. It was worth the money, and it was quite enjoyable. And this was also, well, Monday was the first day we really started to get Florida weather, that hot, humid weather. So yeah, that was a nice treat to have after a long day in the sun. Fortunately, one of the downsides of Florida weather is thunderstorms. And this was the first day we got one. And it was a bad one. And remember how I had said earlier about downside to test track? Well, they don't run it when they have thunderstorms. And fortunately, thunderstorm came right through Epcot. uh, so yeah, that put a damper on my evening, as I had wanted to, get on it again, do it a couple more times, because it's one of those rides that does have single rider, and at least the sign typically said while we were there was about 30 minutes. Most of the time we were getting on 5, maybe 10, if that. So yeah, that was a downer. Ended up actually taking shelter in Spaceship Earth. Did that. That's another ride. That's pretty much a prerequisite ride. It's also a good one to just sit down for 10 minutes to get off your feet and get cool. Hasn't changed in terms of what they show, but some of or the ride itself, and as far as narration, hadn't changed from '09 when I was there last. It's still Judi Dench. I think time before that, I want to say it was. I can't remember who now that I think about it, but yeah. Overall, I would not be surprised if they don't update that again. Not sometime soon. It's probably due, just because it's due. So yeah, hung out there trying to see if the storm would, hopefully blow past. Unfortunately, it did not. I finally, after about 15-20 minutes, finally called in and headed back to hotel, because it was starting to come down pretty heavily as far as rain, and forgot to grab a poncho before I left the hotel room. So yeah, that pretty much closed out that evening. So yeah, we come to last day we were there, because our flight was an evening flight. We went over to MGM because I had wanted to do one thing, the character encounters there that they have for Star Wars. Which is, yeah, they're basically character counter to get photo ops done. And yeah, I just wanted to do that real quick since we had the time. We then headed back to hotel, had lunch there, and waited around because given how the buses were going, which, again, type of waits we were experiencing were ridiculous. So that put a damper on doing more stuff that day, because we had actually extended, bought me an extra day, as my mother has a annual pass, since it was actually cheaper to get the annual pass, as she had gone earlier in the year with a friend of hers from work who had never been to Disney World. So since we were coming back, she just went ahead and got the annual pass, since it also gives you discounts and all that. And it was cheaper than buying ticket for when she was there towards the beginning of the year, and then buying another ticket. So yeah, wait around for the bus to take us to the airport. Get to the airport, and we get another thunderstorm rolling through, and that unfortunately delayed our flight. I'll get into that a little more in a second, but this is another one of those things I wish I had taken a photo of, is just how heavy the rain was coming down. I mean, best way to describe it would be, as we were looking out, could see the windows from the gate. Best way to describe it would be someone taking like a fire hose and just hosing down the window. It was raining that hard. And being out here in California, we don't get rains like that. I mean, we get rains like that, and you're talking borderline apocalyptic levels of rain for us. So yeah, that delayed our flight a little, and fortunately we had a very tight connecting flight in LA to get back to San Diego. Get to that in a second. Fortunately, though, I guess either because winds were lighter or we were able to get a little more direct routing, flight didn't take as long as we had planned. Um, this flight did have the in console or in chair entertainment things, which again, since it's been so long since I've flown, it was nice to be able to, you know, play with those as they had changed so much since the last time I'd flown. Was able to still able to get in two movies and span the flight. The first one being Rogue One, which I hadn't seen since I saw it in theaters. It was enjoyable, and Doctor Strange, which I had never seen before and wanted to see. Um, was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed Doctor Strange, and something I thought was funny as the actor who plays the villain in Doctor Strange also plays um, Galen Erso in Rogue One. I just got a little bit of a giggle at that. I hadn't not intended to watch a movie from the same actor, but you know, it was one of those things you giggle about out unexpectedly. So yeah, like I said, had a very tight connection getting in LA to get flight back to San Diego. So we get there. Now we're rushing. Now get on the little bus to take us out to the commuter terminal. They're talking to the gate, telling them, "Hey, we're on the way. We're like a minute or two out. You know, hold the plane." Get there, they basically close the gate on us. You know, and what adds insult to injury, as not only was it the last flight of the night, and the next flight wasn't at 8 a.m. the next morning, they knew we were coming, and it wasn't even the scheduled time for the plane to depart. So yeah, go to try and reschedule, and you know, we're asking, you know, hey, you guys knew we were coming. You knew we were a couple minutes out. You couldn't hold the plane since it doesn't have anywhere to go, since it's San Diego has like an 11 o'clock curfew for flights taking off. Now, why couldn't you guys have held it? And the gal at the gate, who we found out later was supervisor, did everything short of give us the finger. It was one of the most unprofessional encounters I've had flying ever. I mean, this was like completely uncalled for. And what really pisses me off is that there was a United flight that goes out a little later that we could have made. We would have had to rush a little, but we could have made and gotten in same day. They would not transfer us over to that. They were like, "Oh no, you won't make it. There's not enough time." And I'm sorry, but bullshit. No, we could have made that flight. We could have gone in a little later than we would have, but we could have made that fucking flight. So yeah, so we sent complaints and did all that. Just yeah. No, I'm sorry, but just it. So yeah, I'd say we ended up having to spend the night in the airport, and that is without doubt one of the worst nights I have had ever. I basically got no sleep. You know, trying to use my backpack as a pillow, and just it was not an enjoyable night. So yeah, after that, get caught the flight down to San Diego, and yeah, fortunately, no. The catch-22 is, as since we were rushing to try to get to that connection flight, we knew our bags weren't going to make that flight, and we'd probably have to wait for them to get sent to us. So, catch-22 is we were able to. Our bags made the morning flight, so bags were there when we got in. No, that flight was uneventful. No, it's very much the definition of a puddle jumper flight. So yeah, get back in, pick up the car and come home. That was basically, unfortunately, meant missing work that morning, for me at least, which I had fortunately told my supervisor that morning that I had that morning that yeah, I had tight connection, might not be making it. So yeah, so yeah, that was pretty much my trip. Disney World's changed somewhat since I was there last in '09. Prior to that, my family, as I said, um, went go. But sorry about that. Since my family's Disney family, and we have family in Florida, even though we didn't visit with them this year. Um, Gone pretty regularly. One thing I will say about Disney World that a lot of people don't get until they actually get there and have to experience: be prepared to walk a lot. If you've been to Disneyland, everything is really tight in. Not so at Disney World. I was averaging about 10 miles a day of walking. So, granted, if you're expecting or trying to, work off what you're eating, you're going to work it off. I will tell you that now. You will definitely work it off. But yeah, expect to walk a lot. And my experience, at least, we lucked out big time on weather, as it really didn't start to get in to normal Florida weather until last 2 days. In fact, for the next week at least, it's been thunderstorms every day. So, as it's now the rainy season there. So yeah, definitely prepared for that. Most of the time, these thunderstorms will come in early to mid afternoon. Usually last about 15-20 minutes. Blow in, blow out, do their thing, and are gone. So it's not that much of an issue. But yeah, it's definitely a fun experience. Something I had not done in almost 10 years for a variety of reasons. This was something I really sort of needed, just in general, to finally have a bit of a vacation, as it's been so long since I've done a proper vacation. So yeah, that takes us through the trip. Again, why that week's video has been pushed to this coming week, or actually, yeah, once I get this video hopefully done next day or so, at least as far as recording it, and do plan to throw obviously some photos and such from the trip up. So yeah, plan to get this video out. Hopefully, once I do get this video out, we'll also then, not too much later, hopefully before this week's review video, have the IPF San Diego video out, which, as a side note, managed to get a third place in the Gundam category. First time in a few years that I've placed, as competition there's getting stiffer, which is both good in that more people are coming, they're bringing their A game. Downside is if you're trying to place, it's getting a lot harder. Though they are starting to split, at least this year they split the category, and hopefully next year they'll do some more splitting. As given the number of entries they had this year, and which I want to say that, for, at least in the Gundam category, was about 50 to 60. Well, no, it's not that many. It's probably closer to about 30 or plus, somewhere in that range, which is great, as it means more people. It's a way to get people in modeling. Great. Um, Overall, I think they had close to 300 entries, which again, great numbers showing. Hopefully, more next year, but we'll see. As far as upcoming stuff, there is a competition end of this month that I'm hoping to try to get to. Fortunately, not knowing my work schedule, so I have no idea if I'll have it off. Hopefully, I will. Fortunately, we're within the sort of window of which I could potentially ask for it off. So I'm probably not gonna. Don't know if I'll be able to get it. If I do get it, and I will go, we'll record stuff, and we'll see how things go that way. In that regards, so yeah, hopefully have the IPS video up before the review video. If not, it should come no later than probably Sunday at the latest, or at least I hope at the latest. So yeah, just wanted to take a little bit and talk about my trip. Even though if I look at the camera now, we're about almost an hour and a half of me talking. So if you stuck through it, thank you, and until next time.